So today's kind of a special day because today we have two IEMs that are quite possibly the prettiest IEMs we have ever had in the studio. Headphone highlights. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and today we have not one but two remarkable IEMs from our friends at Celest Audio. We have the Plutus Beast and PhoenixCall. Before we begin, a big shout out to Celest Audio for providing these units to us for this review. Thank you very much, Celeste. But as always, all thoughts and opinions of these IEMs are going to be my own. We'll start by looking at the build of the Plutus Beasts. Look at these things. Oh my goodness. How pretty is that? Look at them. These are, without a doubt, one of the prettiest IEMs. Oh man. Oh god, I can't get over that look, dude. They look fantastic. So what the Plutus Beast are, they are a 3-driver tribrid configuration. What that means is, inside here, this is pretty cool and unusual. First of all, we have a bone conduction driver. I haven't seen that in an IEM before. So it's one bone conduction driver, one balanced armature, and one square planar driver to create this entire ensemble. So that's really neat. The bone conduction is particularly interesting and something that a little characteristic about the build here. Because of that bone conduction, you can, one, actually kind of feel the conduction driver while you like shake the IEM, while you like tap it. And when you have these in your ears, you can actually, this might be a little bit of a detriment, but when you have these in your ears and you're touching them, you can feel that bone conduction driver rattle. Not like in a, oh no, it's loose and broken sort of way, but just because of the way that bone conduction works, it has this, I don't know, little vibration to it. It's interesting. It is a little bit distracting, but when you're actually sitting there listening to anything, you don't notice it. It's just only when you're like first putting them in your ears and you're touching the shells do you actually feel it. They are 8 ohms of impedance and 108 dB of sensitivity, and they have these just absolutely beautiful 3D printed resin shells. Look at this. Just, I'm gonna zoom in here so we can get a real good look. Oh my gosh. So what's really cool about these, and you're gonna see this a little bit more when we get into kind of the accessories package, because the unboxing experience for these IEMs is kind of unlike anything I've experienced. Truly amazing unboxing experience. And we'll go over the accessories package, but what these are, they're actually an inspiration based off of an old Chinese mythical creature, a divine beast known as, I believe, I'm sorry if I butcher the pronunciation for this, but the divine beast Pixion, which is that kind of like dog dragon that you see in a lot of historical Chinese architecture. And that beast is kind of one obviously a protector, but also a symbol of wealth and prosperity. So they kind of tried to capture that with the look of these IEMs here by representing the divine beast's affection for treasure and gold. Hence the kind of gold and silver accents here. And that's just cool. Like that's super neat to have a link to mythology there. It's so beautiful. They're so lovely. As we can see, the face is gorgeous. The face says Celest, and it has, again, just that wonderful speckled coloring in there. That is it is an all resin shell, and just some basic kind of foam tips I have here. But here's the nozzle. Also a very pretty design right there on the nozzle hole. That's cool. And as you can see, it accepts a 2-pin, and there's a little porthole right there as well. Now, unfortunately, I don't think, I'm not seeing it. I do not believe that there is any indicator of which of these is the left or right channel, but you can kind of guess based on their shape. It's not too difficult to figure out. But yeah, truly gorgeous, gorgeous IEMs, and what a cool tie-in to classic Chinese mythology. Very, very neat. Included with the Plutus Beast is this very nice cable. It is a 2-pin silver-plated copper cable, and it does terminate at the end here to either a 3.5mm or 4.4 balance pentagon, depending on your choice. You can choose that at checkout, but it's a very nice cable. Roll this guy out a little bit. We have some nice connectors there, and the connectors are color-coded red and white for right and left. They're also labeled as well. See if I can get that on camera here. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, you have an L and R printed on the side of the cable as well. Goes down, you have a little metal adjustment. All the connectors and bits on this cable are real machine metal. So metal there as well. So at the split, you get 2 weave per channel, and then the core of it is this nice 4 weave. Very, very nice. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. And it's just really, really well made. It doesn't really tangle that much. It looks very, very nice. Nice, nice cable. Up next here is the PhoenixCall. Another flippin' beautiful IEM. Look at that. Now what this is this is also a triple driver tribrid configuration, but it is different. The configuration for the PhoenixCall here is a 7mm dynamic driver with additionally 2 balanced armatures and 2 flat microplanar drivers for those really, hot top ends. So a really interesting configuration under the hood here. And what's really, really neat, I'll zoom in to show you this, is because of the clear resin, you can actually see the inside structure of it. Look at that. How freaking cool is that? Look at how the chambers are built and flow the sound to the nozzle. It's so freaking cool. I can't get over how neat that is. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And look at the face of these shells here. Oh God. It is again just 3D resin, but they just nail it once again with the aesthetic. It's absolutely beautiful. You could tell there's a bit of a color shift. One's a bit more green and one's a bit more blue. But man, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. They are 32 ohms of impedance and 103 dB of sensitivity. And once again, the shells here are trying to represent more classic Chinese mythology. Specifically, these IEMs are inspired by the Chinese myth, the legends of mountains and seas. It's a very old story. And what these are depicting are the flock of 100 birds that are mentioned in the story. And you could see that there, those silvery birds in that beautiful night sky, maybe? I don't know, but it's gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. They're so pretty. And what's really interesting is the actual nozzle itself. Look at that. I haven't seen this before. It's just, the nozzle is literally part of the resin shell. There's no metal nozzle filter on there at all. It's just the actual resin. Look at that. Really interesting. Very, very interesting IEM. And my gosh, just absolutely stunning as well. And as beautiful as these clear ones are, they also are available in a dual color option where one shell is kind of like a pink color and the other shell is kind of a blue color. That gives you this real synthwave look. And the included cable, as you're about to see, would also match those colors as well. But I actually really like the clear here because you get such a clean look at the inside of those shells. That's just so freaking cool. The included cable with the PhoenixCall is a little similar to the Plutus Beast, but it is also a little bit different. So it is, again, a 2-pin, but this time 8-core silver-plated copper cable that still also is available in either this 3.5mm that I have here, or you can also get it in 4.4 balanced pentagon. Here at the connecting end, we have, once again, colored red and white for left and right, and then they are also labeled as well for right and left. Let me flip that over so you can see. And there you go. So yes, they are labeled. It's a little harder to see, but there is an L and R there labeled. And these are 4 weave this time per driver, coming down into the splitter. Again, all metal for all these components. And then the splitter here, just plain metal. And then it comes into this beautiful 8-core weave. Look at this thing. I love 8-core weave cables. They're so freaking pretty. Very kind of jewelry look to it, you know? And then, yes, once again, A very simple end termination here, but subtly says Celest. Very nice. Beautiful cable once again. No complaints. Now let's go ahead and take a quick look at the accessories package included for the Plutus Beast here. And again, the unboxing experience for both of these IEMs is just really, really, really premium, as you're about to see. So as we take off the sleeve, we're met with this very pretty design and this very nicely textured box. It is just a cardboard box, but it's very, very nice. We'll pop this guy open, move that to the side, and we're immediately met with this cool little pendant. Look at this. And there he is. There's your divine beast, your protector, your little dragon dog dude. He's beautiful. Very, very cool. It is a metal, just like, I don't know, not even a keychain, just a little metal accented thing here. It's just super cool. This again says, oh gosh, get the right angle there for the light. Celest right there on this little dangle bit. And then, you know what? I didn't even notice until now, but this is actually a brush. That's clever. Yeah, a brush. And then at the other end here, I guess like a little scooper to help clean up the gunk from your IEMs. That's really neat. So yeah, this is just a very premium little accent, a very premium little extra to come with your package. I think it's super cool. Very, very nice. Just fun. It's fun and cool. You also get this very, very nice, very kind of luxurious looking and feeling carrying case. Celest. It's just this, it must be real leather. It feels amazing. Feels very, very good. And unzips very easily to just a nice kind of velour insert in here. And inside you're going to find some extra ear tips, just kind of the usual suspects. But yeah, that's a really, really nice little carrying case. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Everything else in here is just kind of your documentation. But even that, even the documentation is presented in a very pleasing way. Ooh. Look at that. It's just so nice. Everything about this packaging is just so nice. What a very premium package for not a very expensive IEM. I believe the Plutus here is only like $80. And look at this. This is an incredible unboxing experience for a IEM in this range. Wonderful. Beautiful. Everything here is just so nice. Now let's take a look at the Phoenix. If you thought that the Beast had a very nice accessory package, oh boy, just you wait. First of all, this box is really, really lovely. It feels, it's got this nice satin finish on the outside. Oh, it feels so good. And this like purple and gold and silver, it's just a really, really pretty case. And the way that it opens to display is also beautiful. Magnets there, and then it opens up to the actual components. So we have this little piece of paper here. Actually, it's not a piece of paper. It's a sleeve, in fact. So we'll pull that guy out first. Open this guy up, and we're going to find some similar goodies, starting with this, another really, really pretty pendant that is, again, representative of the Chinese mythology that the IEM is based off of. This time, phoenixes. Look at that. Oh my God, it's so cool. Look at it. Very, very pretty. Again, with the red and the blue there. This, I think, would kind of better match the alternate color scheme for these IEMs, the ones that are kind of the pink and the blue, but it's still super, super pretty. I really like that. And just, again, says Celest right there at the dangly end. No brush attachment on this one, just a nice little dangly cool thing. Again, real metal. Very, very cool. Very, very pretty. And if we keep going, we get our PhoenixCall instruction manual here, which once again is just very, very well designed. It's very pretty good documentation here. As a designer, I respect this. This looks really nice. And again, the purple is just such a lovely accent to this whole thing. Very nice. You know it's something when the instruction manual is actually interesting. But we're not done yet. We got more in here. Let's open her back up, close it up. Celest. And then inside, we're going to find another carrying case. Boom. It is, I believe, the same carrying case. Well, actually, you know what? It's not. This is a very different texture on the leather here. Interesting. Obviously, it's blue instead of leather, like a brownish leather color, but this is a very good accent and color match to the IEMs themselves, so it makes sense. But very, very pretty. Nice pattern on the leather there. Celest. It is otherwise the same carrying case, but it looks very, very nice. Unzip it, and you're going to find more of the same. Just some extra ear tips up in here and velour in here to protect the IEM. So very, very nice case to go along with a nice cable, cool little dangly bit, and just a nice box. Once again, really, really nice, very premium unboxing experience for, again, a very affordable IEM. The PhoenixCalls here are usually only around $120. And now let's check on the fit and comfort with the Plutus Beast going first. These shells are very light. Very light. And again, putting them in my ear, I'm hearing again that little ring of the bone conducting driver. But again, once it kind of settles in, it's not really a problem anymore. I don't hear it anymore, and it's not distracting, especially once I start listening to music. But yeah, these are extremely light, very, very lightweight. And the cable also weighs practically nothing. I don't get any kind of cable microphonics or harmonics over here. So that's all very well and good. And the shell shape is, it's mostly a good fit. It does have a little bit of a tendency to kind of creep out of my ears a little bit. It maybe isn't the most ergonomic shape for my ear canals, but your mileage may vary. But otherwise, these are remarkably comfortable. They're so lightweight. And the tips, though very basic, do a great job of doing really good passive isolation. My voice is extremely muffled. I can't hear any of my fans in this room. It's great. I did, at least for a little while, swap out the ear tips with these EPZ M100s, which I like quite a lot, but I did not use these for the sound testing bit to keep everything nice and consistent. But yes, fit is pretty good. Isolation is great when it stays, but even right now talking to you, my right channel is starting to kind of peek out of my ear just a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. If you can kind of fuss with it a little bit more, you can probably get your fit to be a little bit better than mine. And you can always just swap out tips, and that'll probably fix your problem right there. But yeah, they're extremely comfortable for an IEM. Now moving over to the PhoenixCall, which are a little bit more substantial in size, but also still nonetheless extremely lightweight. So these actually fit me a bit better. I don't think that the shell design is really that much different than it is from the Plutus Beast, but for whatever reason, the PhoenixCalls just fit my ears quite a bit better. I don't hear the ringing anymore from the bone conduction driver because there isn't one in the PhoenixCall. So that is nice to not have that little bit of a distraction. But again, it goes away. Don't worry about it. But yeah, these fit me a lot better. The passive isolation is not quite as isolating as it was with the Plutus Beast. I would probably mark that up more about the ear tip choice versus the actual design of these, because the ear tips that these come with are pretty standard. And again, going with something like these M100s helps a lot with the isolation. But other than that, it's still fairly well done. I can only really hear a little bit of like the higher tones of my voice, but everything else sounds really muffled. And I still can't hear any of my fans or light fans or anything like that. So it's good enough, just maybe not quite as isolating as it is on the Plutus Beast. But in terms of comfort, I actually prefer these. I think that these are extremely comfortable for my ears, and the ergonomic feel of the shell just works a bit better for me. But again, your mileage may vary. Let's get into sound performance, starting with the Plutus Beast. They're a very V-shaped IEM, but nonetheless an extremely fun and engaging sound signature that, while being very V-shaped, is not so much to sound bloated or overly sibilant. They offer great bass extension going well into the sub-bass range that gives you a really good solid thumping kick. All the while, the mid bass, even though this is again very V-shaped, the mid bass is very respectful of the mid range and tends to kind of stay where it needs to be. It is extremely punchy, extremely impactful. I think maybe that, the bone conduction is probably contributing to that quite a bit. It sounds so meaty. It's wonderful, but again, doesn't really have a tendency to bleed or bloom all that much into your mid range. Very respectful of the mid range, but also very, very bombastic. The mid-range is nice, though I will point out right away that there was a little bit of a strange sort of behavior. I wasn't able to pinpoint exactly where this is happening in terms of like the frequency response, but somewhere around the range of like snare drums. It just gets a little bit lost. Snare drums in particular, for whatever reason, just sound a little bit pushed back compared to everything else in the range there. Everything else in the ensemble and the instruments in the mid-range, there's this one specific zone where kind of the lower end of your snare drums hit and kick just feels distant. It was a little bit strange, but I didn't notice it all too much. And in most cases, it was kind of a non-issue. It was just on tracks where I know what I'm specifically looking for. I did notice that there was something a little bit missing there, or pushed to the side. I'm not entirely sure. But other than that, the mid-range is lovely. It's of course a little bit on the warmer end, but it's very clean and clear. The vocal range is very well represented, and vocals themselves, albeit maybe a little bit warm, sound very natural. They're just not particularly intimate. They're not right in your face, though they are still forward. The vocals don't sound like they're being pushed to the side. They're definitely out there, up front, and center, and very present. They're just not right in your face, so it's not a super vocally intimate listening experience, but the vocal range is still very nice, clean, clear, and while maybe a little bit smoothed out by that warmth, still sounding very natural. The high mids are fairly distinct and offer a pretty decent amount of kind of definition. They're also very quick, but they get a little bit subtle as you kind of move from your high mids into your treble range. Right in that kind of range and that spectrum, things start to kind of get a little bit like subtle, like they're maybe rolling off a little bit. And this makes sense because the treble range is really rolled off. It's a very kind of almost dark sounding IEM. There is some treble there, and it can be fairly responsive, but it doesn't hit very high. It is a very easy to listen to treble range, but certainly not a sparkling treble range. It doesn't sparkle or shimmer, and you don't get much in terms of resolution and definition in the very top end, because everything just really mellows out and chills out, makes it very easy, very smooth and relaxed, but just a little bit of a flat sounding treble range overall that leaves me desiring more kind of kick and snap in that top end. The sound staging on these is really strange. I had a really difficult time pinpointing what was going on here, because on some tracks, they seem like very intimate IEMs with a soundstage that, while not being super narrow, is only marginally away from you. Still very narrow, just not like beaming directly into your ears. But at the same time, other tracks, or especially with like gaming, it sounded much, much wider and just a realistic sense of space. So I'm not sure what the soundstage performance is with these things, because it really was different across the board. Nothing was consistent with it, which is very odd. But yeah, music-wise, seems like it's a very narrow soundstage, but gaming and movie listening, anything that has like really kind of layers of mixing sounds wider, sounds a bit more spacious. Imaging is also a little bit strange. With imaging, it's good. It's good imaging. It's able to pick up fairly well precise spacing and positioning with your ensemble, with your musics and your instruments, and the separation is good. But what's interesting is that you get this sense that, and again, this isn't in every case, once again, very strange, but for the most part, you get the sense that the imaging is more precise and more identifiable when things sound like they're more at a distance from you versus when things sound like they're really close to you. This is hard to explain if you don't game, but when you're gaming, you get a better sense of this, where when things are in close proximity to you, you can kind of like feel when they're closer. Not really so much with the beasts here. With the beasts, you have this good sense of things that are a bit of a distance from you, but as they get closer to you, it becomes less defined. Not necessarily where the position of it is. You still get the sense of where it's coming from, but at some point kind of lose the sensation of how close it is to you. And what makes it more strange is that sometimes, I don't know if maybe this is just my brain kind of adapting to it over time, but sometimes it sounds remarkably realistic, even though you have this kind of weird disconnect. I can't explain it, and I wish that I could, but I don't know. For some reason, sometimes, particularly when I was listening to like some urban warfare or artillery soundtracks, it sounded remarkably real as like planes fly over my head. That sounds amazing. It sounds incredible. And again, I think it's because of the like this proximity thing that's happening. But yeah, things at a distance sound remarkably real in their positioning. It's only when things get close to you, like really the sense of it getting close to you, do things get a little bit less defined. And then in terms of dynamics, it's a very, very dynamic IEM for the most part. It would be more dynamic if there was a bit more kind of treble response, but because of the way it handles the low end, especially with kind of, I think maybe that bone conduction is doing it again. But in terms of dynamics, you get really good slapping attacks and well-managed transients. They're just really a real joy to listen to, a very fun V-shaped IEM, even despite some of its kind of weirder characteristics. Now let's talk about the PhoenixCalls. Also a fairly V-shaped sound signature, but not as deep of a V as the beasts. They're leaning a little bit more towards neutral and offering a little bit less warmth overall. I would actually argue that these sound pretty well balanced, and I think they have pretty great tuning. The bass extension is great once again, and I'm pretty sure I got the sense that they're just ever so slightly more extending into the sub bass range than the beasts are. So you get just a little bit more sub bass representation. It's not as bombastic and as frequent in quantity of the bass that you get out of the beast, but it is higher quality bass, if that makes sense. The bass itself is more kind of matured and refined on the Phoenix, but just not as explosive, impactful, and as present as it is on the Plutus beasts. The mid bass as well is a bit better controlled than it is on the beasts. It's there and it has some real nice punch and smack to it, but it's a lot better controlled. It's more refined. It's just, it does a much better job of feeling more natural, feeling a bit more kind of, again, a little bit more neutral. It's still V-shaped, but not nearly as much. And it makes it for a less super dark and less warm sound than you get out of the beasts. The mid-range, I feel, is very, very kind of neutral and natural. It sounds a lot more kind of realistic and true to life than it does on the beasts. And the vocal range is a lot more noticeable with the PhoenixCalls. They're a lot more forward, so the singers sound like they're actually closer to you, and they're a little bit more kind of present and direct. You have a lot more focus on vocals than you do on the beast, and it's just the way it's represented. It's just a bit of a more intimate experience, but also because of the way it handles the mid-range, it makes it just a lot more natural sounding, it allows the vocals to just sound a lot more realistic than they do on the beasts. The high mids perform a little bit better on the PhoenixCall than they do on the beasts. You get a lot more kind of texture up there, a lot more kind of speed and kick and thwap. That's the word I'm using today, thwap. It's a lot more resolving in the high mids than it is on the beasts. You don't have that same sense of like a pretty defining roll off as it's going into the mid range. And then the treble range, this is why this all makes sense. The treble range is significantly brighter than it is on the beasts. It's a very sparkly, shimmery, glittery kind of treble range that I think only sometimes do I ever feel like it's getting a little bit close to too much, a little bit too sharp, too bright, almost edging on like a sibilance, but it never got too far for me. I know that some people have reported that the treble range is a bit too much for them to handle. I never felt that it was for me, but you know, your mileage might vary a little bit, but I think that they do a good enough job controlling the high end up here where it never got fatiguing for me and never got too much to handle. And because of that, I got to enjoy the top end, which just had a lot more detail and definition and resolution than it did on the beasts. So that kind of extra high kick I was missing from the Plutus beast, I am actually getting here with the PhoenixCall. Soundstage, I'm not confused about with the Phoenix. Their soundstage is great. It's pretty expansive. It's not gigantic, but it's a good medium amount of soundstage. Significantly more soundstage than you get on the Plutus beast. So Plutus beasts, I guess, are a little bit more focused. Likewise, the way that the PhoenixCall handles the imaging, I no longer have that weird kind of dissonance, that weird kind of separation between when things are far away and when things are close. I don't have that displacement anymore. Everything sounds very clean and precise and all around me, and I do have a very good sense of distance between me and what I'm hearing. So not only do I have really good positioning, but also the distancing is very, very clear. A lot more clear and refined than it is on the beasts. And as a result, you get better awareness, better immersion, and just a greater sense of layering in your music. And while the PhoenixCall here might not be as kind of bombastic as the Plutus beast, it still has really good dynamics. It's really fun and engaging. It offers better control and on par, if not maybe even a little bit better, attacks and slam. Now, I might sound like I'm kind of dogging a little bit on the Plutus beats here, but trust me that I'm not. I do think that the PhoenixCalls here are just a lot more of a refined listening experience just in general overall, but the bombastic engagement you get out of the Plutus Plus is just a real joy. They're super, super fun. They're just not as clinical and analytical as the PhoenixCalls here are, and that's fine. They're both really incredibly beautiful IEMs, and they both offer really great sound that is just kind of like diverging paths of each other. The attention to detail on the design of these is nothing short of remarkable, and how they kind of incorporate the theming here, the only word I can use to express it is cool. Freaking cool. So you kind of get to take your pick. They offer a shift here in like sound profile where you can have your very, very V-shaped, very fun, dynamic, and impactful Plutus beasts, or your more refined, more mature, and more clinical and analytical sound of the PhoenixCalls. But they're both fantastic. They're both fabulous IEMs, and genuinely probably the prettiest pair of IEMs that we have had in the studio to date. I geek out at the attention to detail with like the mythological theming. It's so cool. I really, really like them. They're really fabulous. So thank you very much, Celeste, for sending these out for review. We really appreciate you. These are super cool IEMs. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll be seeing you again very soon.